Have you ever wondered what the sacred is? You might hear about the sacred and the profane. This is the title of one of the greatest books in the history of the scholarship of religion by Mircea Eliade, The Sacred and Profane, the Nature of Religion. And today I want to tell you a bit about how to make time sacred. And in doing so, I'll illustrate one of the profound insights of Eliade's book about what the sacred is. And I want to give you an example how you can, regardless of your background or doesn't matter what you believe, you can experience the sacred for yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how we can make time sacred, and in doing so, come to a deeper understanding of what the sacred is. And this will illustrate part of the insight of this book, which I'm going to be teaching a course on in a few weeks. Eliade says that the sacred constitutes a unique kind of space in which the world emerges and a unique kind of time. So when it comes to space, he shows that sacred space is the first kind of space humans experience. And when we experience the sacred, we experience a sense of reverence. So we make the space a kind of center point in our lives. And this idea of a sacred space, we know from churches, synagogues, mosques, temples of all kinds. But even your own house, if you think about it, you have different places in your house that you might say are more sacred or set apart for just your use or maybe for someone else's use than other parts. And the house itself, relative to what's outside of your house, is, you could say, a kind of sacred space relative to the area outside. So the sacred has to do with a primordial sense of something being very real and powerful. And so we can go into many different buildings in a space, but if they're not our home, they don't feel the same to us. A space that isn't the place that we dwell in and live is, in a sense, less real than the space of our own home to us. Not that it's less real maybe to someone else who lives there, but there's a profound reality to what it means to dwell at home. And the sense of dwelling in your own house has the idea that your house is related to the reality of your own life. So Eliade's basic idea of the sacred, just to put it very simply, is that the sacred concerns our experience of what is most real. And this is therefore what I call, as a scholar of religion, it's an ontological understanding of the sacred. Ontology having to deal with our discussion or thinking or discourse about what is existing. Or what is being. And so if you think about your house relative to, say, your yard is real, but you don't live there in the same way you live in your house. And so if you think about the home of your life, the sacred space, relatively speaking, of your house is an example of a deeper form of your physical reality that dwells inside of that space. So now Eliade uses this idea in his second chapter to talk about time. And I want to read a very profound passage. He says, he's describing the difference between sacred time and non-sacred time or ordinary time. And I think we've lost this distinction in our culture today, and I didn't grow up really experiencing it. So it's through my scholarship and work as a philosopher who practices spiritual practices from antiquity, for example, that I've learned to recover a kind of existential sense of the sacred. And so here's what Eliade says. He says, one essential difference between these two qualities of time, the sacred and the profane or mundane, strikes us immediately. By its very nature, sacred time is reversible in the sense that, properly speaking, it is primordial mythic time made present. Now, bear with me, I'll explain what he means here. Every religious festival, any liturgical time, represents the reactualization of a sacred event that took place in a mythical past in the beginning. So now the greatest example of this, because you might think, what does that mean exactly, is if you don't have a background, as I did not, of celebrating religious festivals, you might not realize most festivals are linked to stories. And Eliade's point is every religious festival is ultimately linked usually to a primordial story, ultimately the story of creation, for example, being the most dominant story. And in the most sacred festival, for example, of the Jewish tradition, which then influenced Christianity, and through that many people know about it in the world, you see a perfect example of this. The Sabbath is understood in the two ways that it's understood in the scriptures. It's understood as a memorialization of the creation account because the God who creates the world creates it through labor over 6 days. And then it says on the seventh day, God completed the work that he had done and he rested from all the work that he had made. And therefore, the idea is what scholars use this Latin phrase, imitatio Dei, or the imitation of God. The idea is that mythic time or sacred time in festivals is an imitation of a divine time. And therefore, in a sense, it exists outside of ordinary history or an ordinary time. And it represents, as Eliade says, a reappearance, you could say, of the primordial time. So the world is, in a sense, remade every 7 days on the Sabbath. Or if you celebrate the Sabbath and you think about it not as a matter of a Jewish law or whether you're personally religious, but I think of the Sabbath in this sense as a very profound anthropological insight that is valuable to anyone. If you just want to understand sacred time, it's a sort of unique prism to access that. And therefore, when you celebrate the Sabbath, you're creating a sense of memorial in which you imitate the idea of creation itself. Just as God works 6 days a week, we work 6 days a week. And then on the seventh day, which begins on Friday evening and goes to Saturday evening, you rest from all the work you've done and you enjoy the rest as a divine mandate. So the most sort of pervasive, common form of sacred time in sort of Jewish Christian culture and the culture that's influenced them is a time of rest in imitation of the divine act of creation, which is actually a perfect example of what Eliade talks about. And so I would encourage you, because I've done this myself and I found it to be very powerful, and I'm going to have students in the course actually pick if they would like to. They don't have to, but I'm going to have spiritual exercises that students can pick to do. And this is going to be one of the main ones that I want to ask everyone to do at least this practice while they're in the course with me, which is practice a form of the Sabbath, like if you're willing to. It's not like I'll grade it or something. And the idea is just this: starting on Friday evening, stay at home and rest from whatever you know is work. Just don't do that. From Friday evening to Saturday evening. I'm not saying stay off your phones or any of that, but whatever is not restful, like checking your email, that kind of thing, whatever for you feels like work and that makes you tired, just avoid that for one day. It could just be Saturday, but if you want to try it this way, I think it's very powerful. As the sun sets on Friday night, practice just resting from the work you did in the evening. And here's what I can guarantee will happen. If you do this for, say, at least 7 weeks, you'll start to develop a very different experience of time. And the actual 6 days of the week will begin to have a different texture and a different energy than they would before. And so I grew up in a tradition where, you go to church on Sunday, which is actually kind of stressful, to be honest, depending on, when you're a kid or you're a parent, you have to do that. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not exactly restful. So I want to suggest this idea of what I call a philosophical Sabbath. Which is like a Sabbath where you take one day a week to not do whatever you consider work and to spend time on whatever you consider the most valuable things, like resting, being with your family, maybe reading something, listening to something that you think of as wisdom. So I think of leisure, taking a day of rest, as like a time for shaping our souls, sort of like rejoicing in your life. So if you want to experience sacred time yourself, I think this is one of the easiest ways to do it, is you have to personally choose freely as an experiment, if you want to do it, to set aside time. And because, this can be hard to do consistently, I think it's much easier if you tap into an existing tradition that has a kind of logic to it. And so the Sabbath really makes sense. And there's even a teaching that the Sabbath was somehow designed for human beings themselves, that there's something useful about it, regardless of whether you're Jewish or whether you care about religion. It's not a religious thing, the way I'm thinking about it. It's a philosophical experiment to recover the sacred. And I can tell you personally that by keeping the Sabbath in this way, this kind of philosophical Sabbath, a time for rest from work and taking time to just enjoy wisdom, enjoy time with friends or family, it's really changed my life. And when I reread Eliade to prepare for the course that I'm going to be teaching, which is an introduction to the world, an introduction to the sacred, and the idea of this world as a sacred object, which we'll discuss the earth as a sacred goddess, how this is connected to sacred architecture, ideas of time, space, a lot of really exciting things, and what it means today that we don't have a direct connection to the sacred, but I think we all want one. And so our yearning for the sacred is part of why, at an existential level, practically, I think it's really valuable to study Eliade. And so I wanted to introduce you today to this idea of how to make time sacred. And I explained it comes from Eliade's insight that sacred time is a repetition or a returning of the original primordial time of a great divine act, particularly the divine act that defines all acts, which is the world coming into being. So if you didn't believe in a God, it's no problem. You could just think of it as whatever the sort of process that led to the energy of life coming into being, led to the formation of order. You could think of yourself as sort of honoring that process one day a week, starting on Friday evening, sort of honoring the energy of life, honoring the source of life, and not being worried about anything, but actually just being grateful for everything. Kind of one day a week, you just don't worry about anything. You just focus on being grateful and resting and relaxing. And you'll discover in that the beginning of your personal experience of the sacred. Because I don't think the sacred is just something in the past or for particular religious traditions. As a philosopher of science and religion, I think we actually all need a connection with the sacred. It's not about religion per se. It's about a sense of like connecting to the depths of our own being, existentially to the depths of the world itself. And that means to the depths of space and time. And so to connect to the depths of space and time, we have to learn to sanctify space and to sanctify time. And this is one way you can practice it, is try what I call this the philosopher's Sabbath. Just rest, from whatever is work. Relax in a way that's, good and restful for your actual body and your energy, and focus on whatever you think is the highest kind of deepest things that give you the most meaning and value in your life, and see how that changes your relationship to time. If you're interested in more of that, please do check out the Becoming Human Project. You can join, you can access the entire introductory curriculum I have for people who want to study philosophy. I taught at Yale. I've taught everyone from, rocket scientists who studied with Carl Sagan, other professors, to people who, didn't finish college or didn't go to college. My work is designed to reach the highest intellectual level of curiosity, even if you have a PhD, but to be clear enough that you don't need any special education. I wanted it to be accessible for everyone. So that's how all of my work is. I've got a 10-part series that introduces the whole history of philosophy, religion, and science called Becoming Human Origins. And that's an introduction to all of my work, 10 hours. And then I have 4 more courses that are each 3 lectures. You can listen to them on a long trip or one at a time when you're commuting. And they give you a different introduction to philosophy, to aesthetics, about what is beautiful. Why do we desire sex? Why do we desire beauty so much? And that's an introduction to aesthetics, to the realm of beauty and the senses. And I also have an introduction to Plato's famous allegory of the cave, which is an introduction to epistemology, or a critical theory of how do we know what we know. And I have a course on food, which I personally love, that teaches how food is a universal source of wisdom and can help you kind of relate to food in a more maybe profound and meaningful way. And I think the food course goes really well with the Sabbath. So I talked about the way that food is a way to sort of create a sense of the spiritual and the sacred in everyday life by connecting to the earth. And then I have an introduction to philosophy that focuses on the world, the soul, and the gods, which are the classic divisions in academic philosophy in the Enlightenment period. So if you're interested in any and all of that, you can get all of it by becoming a Becoming Human member at $100 a month, which gives you, I think, $3,000 worth of my introduction to philosophy, many hours of content, and that also allows you to join me for a free course every year that it pays for. So if you want to join me in my course on the sacred and the profane and get an introduction to religion, it'll be a 5-week course, and just for $100 a month starting this month, you'll already get access to it, and you'll get access to the audio when it's done, and you can join. So if you're interested in studying religion, learning more about the sacred, learning how to incorporate academic insights into your own personal spiritual practice, I would love to hear from you. I'd love for you to join the project. Check me out on Substack. You can support there as a paid subscriber. It's the first way to join, or you can do a $10 membership, $100 membership, or others. And I really appreciate your support. Please do click like and subscribe to this channel. Share the video with your friends, and I hope to see you sometime. We can study philosophy together. I'm Samuel Lonkar. I earned my PhD at Yale, and I'm the founder of the Becoming Human Project, which is designed to bring philosophy as a way of life to everyone in the world. Thanks so much for being part of the project. Have a beautiful weekend and enjoy your rest.